We have John Hinderaker joining us now from Powerline blog, one of my favorite people to talk to about all things politics. Thank you so much for joining us, John.
Hi, Grace, and congratulations on the new show.
Thank you so much. So the first thing I have to ask you, I read Powerline blog every single day, and the reason I love it is because you have so many blogs that are smaller and they're like bite size. You can just consume them throughout the day, and you just kind of get your vibe on things without this long spiel about, the history of impeachment or anything. You just tell us what you think about it. And I cracked up when I read your first line. You said, "Not the most evil political act of my lifetime, but perhaps the dumbest." Give us your take on impeachment and why you think it's so dumb.
Well, the whole point of impeachment is to remove a federal office holder from office. And, the Democrats have been talking about impeaching Donald Trump since before he was inaugurated. Then they did impeach him a couple of years ago, and now they have impeached him again as he is just about to leave the White House. So what's the point? By the time the Senate can have a trial, and it's still kind of up in the air as to whether that's actually going to happen, or if so, when or how. But if it does happen, it'll happen after Trump has already left office. And it's just an unbelievable waste of time. And what it really exposes is the absence of any coherent, positive agenda from Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and the Democrats. If they had an agenda that's popular with voters and that's meaningful, that's what they would be talking about, not this endless Trump hatred that they've been driving for the last 4 years.
And it's amazing to me, John, because Biden obviously gave some sort of speech yesterday. I did not watch it. I'm not going to lie to you. But I went over it today a little bit here and there, and I was looking for some criticism of it or something about his plan. It's a $1.9 trillion plan. And the media was just all over it. They were fawning over Joe Biden, that this is the greatest plan that anyone's ever put together. He's a hero. He's a true leader. I mean, do you have any trust anymore in the mainstream media?
Well, I haven't had any trust for a long time, Grace. It's been quite a few years. The difference is that now nobody has any trust in the liberal media. I was kind of a pioneer. We at Powerline were kind of pioneers in undermining that faith in the liberal media. But that job is now complete. I mean, nobody listens to these people. And look, I mean, if you believed that the federal government can create wealth by legislation, and that it is possible for $2 trillion worth of wealth to actually be created and sent out to the American people, well, then it might make sense to say, oh, boy, this is a great idea. But I think most people understand that the federal government doesn't create wealth, that you can print money, but that doesn't enrich anybody. And I don't know if you're familiar with this idea of, modern monetary theory, which no economist, to my knowledge, actually supports, not even Paul Krugman. But now there are liberals going around saying, look, the government actually can just print money. It has no bad consequences. Just print it, run the presses, mail it out to people, and we're all going to be better off.
I think I read something on that theory the other day, and it said that people like AOC, they feel as though, you can just print money and keep printing it, and then when we need it, or when we need to tax people, we'll just tax the uber wealthy.
Yeah, they call that modern monetary theory, and it's completely stupid. But that's really the basis. When Joe Biden comes out with a plan like this, let's just mail checks out to people. That's really what they're talking about, and there's just no basis for it.
I'm talking to John Hinderaker from Powerline blog. It's a great blog. If you're looking for more conservative opinions, that is the place to go. So I think my favorite story that you've written in a while is about this school or the school system in Minnesota and what's happening there. So yesterday I read a story, and it was about Cupertino, a town in Cupertino. There was an elementary school, and they were trying to have the kids rank themselves based off privilege and power, and the parents got wind of it, and they were not thrilled that their third graders were learning about, intersectionality in their math class. So you wrote a story, and it's not exactly the same, but there's elements of it that are similar. Tell us what's going on under Minnesota law and what they're trying to get rid of in the curriculum.
Yeah, so under Minnesota law, there are standards and benchmarks promulgated in a number of areas. One of which is social studies, and they're staggered so that each year one set of benchmarks and standards gets revised. And this year it's the social studies standards, and our left-wing governor and his Department of Education have appointed a committee to carry out this revision, and the first draft got released a couple of weeks ago, and it would not have gotten much public attention except for the fact that the organization I run, the Center of the American Experiment, policy organization in Minnesota, actually read what was in these standards, and it's unbelievable. I mean, so the things that have been dropped from the standards from what they were 10 years ago include World War I, World War II, the Holocaust, the Civil War, the American Revolution, communism, and any mention of such Americans as George Washington and Thomas Jefferson.
Okay,
Well,
so my next question is, what's included?
Right, exactly. Any normal person would say, well, what the heck is in the standards? Answer, systemic racism in the U.S., rooted in our founding, how freedom and democracy have included or excluded certain groups throughout our history, developing a respectful awareness of the LGBTQ plus community, the Reconstruction period, specifically successful efforts to disenfranchise newly freed Black Americans, and connecting this history to persistent discrimination and inequity in the present, and an analysis of the ideology of manifest destiny and its relationship to whiteness, Christianity, and capitalism. The other thing is that there's an astonishing amount of space in these standards devoted to the history of Native Americans, which is an interesting subject, but Native Americans comprise between 1% and 2% of the population in Minnesota. There's just this kind of extraordinary preponderance of stuff about their history. So anyway, my organization went into action. We set up a website, raiseourstandardsmn.com. We promoted this on social media to let people know what was going on. In the space of a week, we got 5,000 Minnesotans to send letters or emails to this committee, respectfully pointing out what we see and they see, these thousands of Minnesotans, as the misguidedness of this first draft of a new set of standards. So on Monday of this week, the committee held a public meeting to talk about the feedback that it was open for public comment. So now they're going to talk about the public comments that they got. Well, more than 80% of the public comments that they got came from our website, raiseourstandardsmn.com. And so, the discussion, which I'm not sure they really thought anybody was going to listen in on, even though it was a public meeting done by Zoom, of course, they smeared our organization, and they referred to the letter that they got from more than 5,000 Minnesotans as white supremacist.
Oh, the old white supremacist card. Interesting.
You just have to laugh. If you think that our children should learn about World War I, World War II, the Civil War, the Holocaust, the Revolutionary War, etc., and maybe learn who George Washington was, well, you are now a white supremacist. And so there was no discussion at all of how these comments might be taken into account as the committee goes to work on the second draft of the standards and guidelines. So we're going to stay on this, Grace. We're going to have a lot more people commenting next time around, because there's going to be another time for public comments, and we'll have more time to really get them organized. But this kind of thing is happening all across America. Same thing here in the third grade. Teaching third graders about how, as a white heterosexual man, you have so much more privilege than a black trans woman, although I'm not sure you can say that. That might be contradictory. I don't know. But, you're talking about the third grade. The first question any third grader would have is, what's a heterosexual?
Oh my gosh. John, I was talking about this yesterday. I said, I used to have to sit at the kitchen table with my mom when I was in third grade. I wasn't the best student, and we would be going over the multiplication tables, and that was a hill we had to climb. My mom was pulling her hair out trying to teach me those. If I had come home and said to her, hey, Mom, I got to rank my power and privilege, she would have lost it.
I think sometimes we've all gone stark raving mad, Grace. I mean, I can't believe that anywhere close to a majority of Americans believe in this nonsense. It is impossible. And so I think what has to be happening is that even though people who follow the news and, so forth are well aware of this whole movement, I think most people must not be. And I think that, people like you and I have just got to keep, driving public awareness of how completely insane the left is in their plans for education, as in so many other things.
And John, it seems to me, the more I keep hearing about these stories, and I did see the one yesterday out of California, it's this real push to make young kids feel as though they're either evil and they're racist or they're victims. And when really they should just be learning. They should just be learning fundamental things in elementary school. But there just seems to be this victimhood of, oh, you've been oppressed or you're the oppressor. And it's like you said, it's ramping up everywhere.
Well, it's all about indoctrination. And they actually want our kids to be ignorant. Ignorance makes them malleable. If they don't actually know anything about American history, what choice do they have but to believe the nonsense that the left foists on them? You can't really have it both ways. Educated people cannot easily be indoctrinated, right? So they actually want our children to be ignorant. And what they do in the schools reflects that.
Yeah, because if you knew your history, you might say, oh, communism doesn't really sound like a good idea. Or maybe we shouldn't be so politically correct and we shouldn't be canceling people. It hasn't worked out well in other societies when people are acting like that. But if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. John, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it. It's Powerline Blog. I hope you'll join us again.
I sure will. Thanks, Grace. Bye-bye.
Thanks, John. Guys, everyone, that's John Hinderaker from Powerline Blog. It's really one of my favorites. Like I said, bite size. You can read all their stuff throughout the day. It doesn't take you very long. Great stuff. It will keep you informed. My friends at Eden Pure have done it again. Starting today, you can get the Thunderstorm air purifier at the lowest price offered to my listeners. With code word GRACE, the Thunderstorm is available for under $90 and shipping is free. This New Year sale is while supplies last. The Thunderstorm is a small device. I'm holding it in my hand right now. You can see how small it is. You just plug it into the wall. It's not one of these big behemoths where you have to, it takes up your whole floor space and it's really loud. This is quiet. There's no filters needed. You don't have to spend $600 on it. We love them here in the office. We move this one around all the time from the kitchen into here. And it's great. It doesn't take up any floor space. Like I said, it's very quiet. Take advantage of this 1 week only sale and experience for yourself what all the listeners, Howie, and advertisers are raving about. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word GRACE. That's EdenPure.com, code word GRACE. Shipping is free. Stop ordering stuff off Amazon. Go to EdenPure.com, order something, and get it delivered to you from someone besides Jeff Bezos. Guys, when we get back, we have more sound to play and a lot more to get to. In the 2 o'clock hour, we will be opening up the phone lines because I don't know if you guys know this, but the lottery, the Mega Millions, it's getting really high. And I want to know, if you win, what are you going to do with the money? But we're going to wait on that. We have more to get to before that. And this is the Grace Curley Show.
She's never held office, but she paid the whiskey priest's monthly rent once. She's Grace Curley.